Okay, myself, I'm Indresh, and I'm right now in Dallas, Texas. I completed my master's in UK, and now I'm looking actively to work as a Microsoft Dynamics CRM consultant. So I have experience in the digital marketing, basically search engine optimization, and also in the marketing, see how we design the websites and all. So campaign specific ads and stuff. So I thought Microsoft CRM could boost my potential to get a higher package or like to grow in my career and also to get some more knowledge. So I choose CRM to pursue. So there I reached out to one of my cousin and they suggested me Visualpath, and luckily I landed in your tuition now.
Thanks, Indresh, for the
Yep.
interaction. We look forward to learning Dynamic 365. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, that's all. Let's get started then. So, okay. In yesterday's session, we have seen like what is what it is uh, Power Platform and what is Dynamic 365. What does Power Platform ecosystem contain, and I mean, we just got a orientation of what Power Platform is and what all we can do with Power Platform. Today we see more about the Dataverse and its components. Okay, so Dataverse is core to the Power Platform, right? Our model Dynamic 365. Okay, Dataverse is the database of the Dynamic 365. So today we see what are the capabilities of Dataverse. So let me open this app. Okay. So this is, as I said, if you want to create any app, okay, the prerequisites are you need to have a license, okay, and you also need to have an environment, okay. Environment is nothing but it's like um, it holds our data, our database, okay. It contains all our apps data, all our components are stored in the environment, okay. So that is the second thing. You also need to create an environment, and the third thing is, since we are going to build the apps, so it also needs to have the components. When I say the components, it is the data components, which are nothing but the tables, okay. So if you are familiar with the, I mean, data model, so let us see what are tables. Okay. So since these are core to our database, okay. When I say table, okay, table contains a list of records. Okay. So when I say, suppose, for instance, employee table contains employee records. Okay. So employee name, employee ID, and employee address, and and employee gender. So these are different columns of the table. And as I said, it contains a list of records. A table contains a list of records. Okay. So this is employee John, employee ID is 1, employee address is New York, gender is male, likewise, employee Anita, employee number 2, female. Likewise, we can go on creating the records for this employee table, right? So when you say employee is the table, employee contains em- columns. Is someone speaking? Okay. So employee in the employee table, we have employee columns that are related to the that holds the data of the employee. Okay, name of the employee, ID of the employee, address, gender. These are different columns of the employee, and these are records of the table. Okay, employee records. Okay, so this is the structure of a table. Okay, table contains columns. Okay, which will contain the data of those employees. Okay, we call these, I mean, we call them as records. Okay, each one is a record of employee. Okay, so let me get back here. So I mean, tables are the building blocks of a database. Okay, I mean, without table there is no database at all, right? So within table we have columns. Okay, so now let us see how we can actually create these tables. Okay, and how we can get them into an app. So as I said, as we saw yesterday, first we need to access the maker portal. Okay, so in the maker portal, if you want to create any components, you have to create a solution first. Yesterday we have already created one solution. Let's go to the solution. Okay, so I have already added these accounts app, table and app. Suppose let me create one table. Okay, so new, you need to click new and look for table. So I wanted to create a table, right? So suppose I want to create a table for doctors. Okay? The display name of the table is doctor, and plural name is doctors that gets populated. Okay, and on the right hand side, you also see the primary column of this table. So system automatically it automatically it will create a primary column. You can actually define the primary column. Okay, it will show the primary column, but you can um, configure the primary column for the table. Okay, so when I say primary column, suppose if I take doctors table, what is the primary column that we can identify a doctor with? It is the name of the doctor, right? Okay, it also can be the ID of the doctor. It all depends on the data that we are actually have, but um, majorly it will be name of any table. You take employee name, or a doctor name, teacher name. So that is called the primary column with which we can actually identify the data of those of the table. Okay, and you can change the you can actually change it. Suppose if for some of the tables we can also have an ID. Okay, so suppose we have other suppose we have an other table. Okay, in India we have other card, right? What is the primary column for the other? It is other ID, right? Not the name. So in those cases you can set the identifier as a primary column. Okay, so you can define that. Okay, so this is the display name of the column, and you can also describe it. Okay, this doctor name, this is schema name. Okay, so when I say schema name, using schema name we can identify the columns. So this is the unique name that is given to any column. Okay, using this column we can access the object. Okay, the column object. And column requirement, when I say requirement, we are actually um, configuring whether this is a mandatory field or not. Okay, when you create a doctor record, whether the name is mandatory or not, that's what we need to define here. Okay, so name is mandatory, right? So there are three options. First one is required, that means that is mandatory. Optional means not mandatory. Okay. Business recommended means system just recommends that it is a required column, but it is not mandatory. It is just suggesting that it is important and it is recommended to enter the data for that table. Okay, so since it is name column, I am just setting it as required. Okay, and this is maximum character count. So this is the limit that we are setting to the name column. How many number of characters that we are allowing for this field or column. Okay. So this can be, I mean, since this is a single lines text field, we can have up to 4,000 characters. So I'm just setting it as 200. Okay. Now I have defined my primary column. Okay. And come to the property. So here again, likewise, we have schema name for a column. We also have schema name for for this table. Okay. Every object will have a schema name. Okay. The schema name is nothing but the object unique name. Okay. So that's what it means. Here you see the type of the table. So we have different types of tables. So we have four types: standard, activity, virtual, and elastic. Okay. When I say standard, this is the standard type. Okay. When you create a table, 90% of the times you create it is a standard table. Standard table is nothing but the regular one. Activity is nothing but, so when you have data of type emails and phone calls, comments, anything, SMS, these are called as activity types. Okay. So when you, I mean, when you have a data like uh, when I say activity, um, this is not like a historical I mean data, like, I mean, this will have more, this could be large number of data, but the thing is, it involves with some activity. Okay. When I say phone call, it is an activity, right? Okay. When I say an employee data, it is not an activity. Okay. It is the standard data. Whereas making phone call, sending emails, or setting appointments, these are all activity types. Okay. So when you have any such type of data, then you need to create it as an activity table. Okay. And the third one is virtual. Okay. When I say virtual, we discussed about this type in brief yesterday. When you have any data that needs to be sourced from a third party database. Okay. you have some uh, you have some employee data in your SQL server. Okay. Which is a third party source, which is you don't have access to it. Okay. So in this environment. Okay. Now what you need to do is, you want to access the data, but you do not want to migrate it from SQL Server to uh, Dataverse. Okay, in that case, what you need to do is you need to make a connection from Dataverse to your SQL Server and read the data in real time. But here the catch is, you cannot you cannot modify that data. You can only read the data. In Dataverse, it is always read only. You cannot modify that. So if you have any such data, like, I mean, I just gave you an example of SQL Server, but it could be any source. It could be, I mean, any SharePoint or any third party source. Okay. If it is residing in any third party source and you want to read it in Dataverse, you have to create that table as a virtual table. Okay. And elastic is a very recent addition to the table types. When you have large amounts of data, I mean huge volume of data, then you have to create it as an elastic type. But that this is very recent, like it was added around 2 weeks ago, I guess. Okay. So this is used for large chunks of data. Okay. So, but as I said, 99% of the time you create a standard table only. Okay. Any questions on this one? Okay, I take it as no and continue. Record ownership. Okay, we have two types of ownership. So every record is owned by someone in the system. Okay, when you create a record, it is always owned by someone. Okay, it is not an orphaned record. Okay? Every record is owned. Okay, so when I say ownership, a record can be owned by a user or a team. When I say team, it's a group of users. Okay. This is one type. The other type is organization. Organization means it is owned by everyone. Okay, there is no specific owner to that data. Okay, so usually when you have master data, and I say master data like country data, okay, or any or state data, I mean that data that cannot be owned by someone in this in your organization, it should be accessed by everyone. Okay, that kind of data you assign it to, I mean you set it as organization ownership. Okay, in all other types, any transactional data, it should have user or team as a ownership. Okay, so you will understand it better when you, I mean, do more hands on. Okay, when you deal with more data, uh, I mean models. Okay, so then only you will be able to determine whether this should be owned by a user or team or organization. Okay, when you take some examples, then you will get it. If you want to choose any image for your table, yeah, you can also pick it. Okay, so, and if you do not want to use any existing types, then you can create a web resource. I mean, when I say web resource, you have to upload an image. And if you want to have a color code for your entity, then you need to give an hexadecimal code. And all these are entity settings or properties. Okay, so if you want to apply duplicate detection rules, okay, so when you create when you have transactional data, and if there is a chance of um, getting duplicates in the system, I mean, then you also can define duplicate detection rules. Whenever a duplicate is created, it will alert you that okay, this could be a potential duplicate of existing data. So we can also set that. So if you check this as yes, then system will enable this table to be for duplicate detection rules. Okay, you need to configure it later, but system will just enable this table for that. Okay, audit changes to its data. Okay, when you want to enable auditing to this table data, then you need to check it. And track changes, when I say track changes, when you have a synchronization of this uh, data was data with other databases. Okay, in Dynamic 365, the database for CRM applications or customer engagement applications and ERP applications is different. The way ERP and customer engagement works is different. They have two different setups and different databases. Okay. Um, in some of the cases, you may have to sync the data between each databases. Okay, ERP and customer engagement database, which is nothing but the dataverse. Okay, so when you sync, so when if if you want to track the changes or synchronization changes between the databases, then you need to enable this option. Okay, so if you see here, help data stays synchronized in external system. Okay, this is mostly helpful when you have synchronization set up between ERP and dataverse databases. Okay, and leverage quick create form if available. We discussed about this yesterday also. So as I said, we can also create data from quick create forms. Okay, these are quick create forms. Quick create forms is nothing but creating data in a rapid fashion. Okay, with minimal data. Okay, so if you want to enable these type of forms, then you need to. We'll discuss more about this later, but um, just remember that you just need to uh, check this option. You just need to check this option to enable quick create forms. Okay, we have knowledge management. Okay, if you want to enable knowledge management in the for this table, then you need to check this option. Knowledge management is like it's like creating knowledge, kind of a knowledge database, okay, in the system for maintaining knowledge articles and all. Okay, so you just need to check this option to enable that. And enable long-term retention. Okay, So this is about retention of data for this table. Okay, and you can actually, we can configure data retention when you, I mean, this is really helpful when you want to maintain historical data. Okay, so if you store the data for years, the storage gets I mean uh, the database storage, it will be eaten up, right? Everything will be over and you have to pay more. So in order to avoid it, we can configure data retentions. Okay, if you have certain data which can be released or archived. Okay, um, so then we have to enable that data retention for the table. Okay, that will be configured by administrators in the admin portal. We will check, we will discuss about later, but this is just the configuration for the, I mean, the long term retention plans. Okay, and so this is for if you want to so if you want to enable custom help, like so if suppose if you want to have kind of an a URL which will provide some custom help related to the table, if you want to enable it, then you just need to enable this option. Okay, make this table an option when creating an activity. Okay, so if you want to link this table with any activity. Okay, so when you create an activity, when I say activity, it could be a phone call, appointment. So when you create an activity, it should also be linked to an existing record. Okay, so any existing transaction record. Okay, it could be employee, customer, or doctor. These are all uh, tables, standard table. You should be able to link that activity to a standard table. Okay, in order to link it, the table should be enabled for linking, right? So when you check it, okay, so this table will be available for linking. So that's what this option is for. Setting up SharePoint document management. Okay, okay, so if you want to enable SharePoint document management for this table. Okay, so certain, suppose if this entity has any attachments or documents. Okay, so and you want to store those documents in SharePoint instead of Dataverse. Okay, whatever the uh, files that you upload it in the system, they automatically get stored in the Dataverse storage only. But Dataverse storage is bit costlier when you compare with Azure Blobs or SharePoint. So certain clients, they might want to store their data in SharePoint instead to save some cost. Okay, so if you want to enable that option for this table, then you need to check this option. Okay, and if you want to enable mail merging. Okay, I mean, when I say mail merging, like when you want to generate any document and then send it as an email, merging documents, then you need to enable this option. And all these are related to connections. Again, this is we will talk about it later about connections. So now it doesn't really make sense. Can have a contact email. If you want to uh, create an email for this table, I mean, so suppose if you want to send an email to a doctor, it should have an email address, right? So when I when you create this table, and if the option is enabled, it will also create a column for holding email addresses, email address data. So that's what it means. It will create an email address field if you enable this. Have an access tag. Okay, this makes more sense when we talk about security model. Okay, and this is about search results. Okay, when you want to configure search results for this table, then you need to enable it. Can be taken offline. Okay, offline is like, so suppose if this table is being used in a canvas app. Hello. Yeah, so power apps can also be accessed when uh, when when system is offline. Okay, so you can also access the data when this is when suppose when your network is offline. Okay, so in those cases, whatever the tables that are enabled for offline access, they will only be available in the offline mode. Okay, so if you want to enable any table for offline access, then you need to check this option. Okay, can be added to a queue. Okay, queue management makes more sense with in case of customer service and all. Queue is nothing but if you want to group some items. Okay, when I say items, if you want to add some items and then put it in a queue is nothing but a holder of records. Okay, it can be any type. You can add any type of record to a queue. Okay, you can add a user or a email or case, anything to a queue. You will just hold the items. Okay, nothing but uh, a queue is a literal, it is the literal meaning only. Okay, a queue will just hold some items, right? Likewise, if you want to maintain certain records in a as a group, then you just store it in a queue. Okay, if you want to enable queue for this table, then you need to check it. So these are all the configurations or settings um, for a table of a table. So do you have any questions so far? No questions? You must be having some questions. Okay, so yeah, the thing that we just left is enable attachments. Okay, as I said, we can um upload files to records, right? So in those I mean, if you want to enable that option, you need to check this, otherwise you won't be able to add any files to any to this doctor type records. Okay? So just let me just add this. So now it is just creating a table. Okay, I just created a doctor table. Okay, so this is the table that I just created. So it will show under the tables. Okay, here you have tables option. If you drill down, you see the number of tables that you have. Okay, in the solution, you just click table, you see all the uh, components of this table. Okay, we have columns, relationships, keys, forms, views, and all. Let's go ahead and create columns for this table. Okay, so typically what does doctor table should have, like what, as I said, doctor, the name column is already there. So when you see, these are all the system columns. When you create a table, all these columns created by default. You have not created any of these columns, right? System has created all these columns. So when you create any table, all these columns get created by default. You have configured only the primary column, which is the name of the name column. All other are created by default. So if you see here, look at these columns. Okay, created by. So this should provide you the data as to who created this record. Okay, and created by is delegate is also similar to that. Created on, it provides you the timestamp at which the record is created. Okay, doctor ID. Okay, if you see, this is a doctor ID. This generates a unique identifier. Okay, so system, this is a system identifier. Okay, it generates a unique identifier for this record. Okay, you must be having some kind of a doubt, like what is the difference between name and doctor ID. Okay, so when I say unique identifier, it generates a, I mean, the identifier looks like this. Okay, so you see here, right? The identifier will be in this format. We call this as a GUID. Okay, global unique identifier, GUID. Okay, just remember that we call that as a GUID column, global unique identifier. So let me type it here, GUID. So every table should have a GUID column. It gets created when a table is created. And the name, as I said, we can define this column as per our requirement. Okay. And import sequence number, this will is helpful in case of any migration modified by modified on these are again when a record is modified, this will store who modified it and when it is modified. Owner.
Uh, Praveen, one quick question. Here the GUID is new underscore doctor ID, right?
Yes, that is
Okay,
a GUID.
thank you.
No problem. And modified by will provide you the username who modified this request, sorry, modified this record. Okay. Modified on will show you the timestamp as to when this record is modified. Okay. Owner ID will provide you who is owning this record. Okay. Owning business unit will provide you like which business unit or department this record belongs to. Okay, this will make more sense when we talk about security model. But remember that owning business is nothing but the department which owns this record. Okay. Owning team, as I said, a record can be owned by a user or a team. Okay. So if it is user, then owning user will hold the data. If it is team, then owning team contains the data. Okay. Record created on, again this is related to migration. So and status reason. Okay. Every record has two statuses. I mean if it is sales and customer service, there are different kinds of status, but any standard table will have two statuses. Okay. Active and inactive. When a record is active, so let me just show you that what is active and inactive. Okay. So currently the record is active. Okay. So if I there is a button here, right? Deactivate. If I just click deactivate, when do I deactivate it? When I think that this record is no more useful to me, I don't want to keep it active, then I deactivate it. Okay, now you see the status of the record. Record status is inactive. What does it indicate? That means this record is no more active and you won't be able to make any changes to this record. Okay, that's what it means. When it is active, suppose if I want to make it active, and I just need to click activate and then click active.
How many days will a record be after you deactivate?
No, there is nothing like that. It When I deactivate it, it will be in deactivate forever.
Okay, so we can access it even though we deactivate.
Yes, yes, we can access it.
Thank you.
So there is nothing like it gets deleted when it is deactivated. So by default, it will be there. But you can also configure processes like, okay, when a record is deactive and then delete it after 1 month. So you need to configure process to, um, to perform those kind of cleaning or housekeeping things. Okay.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is what it is about, activate and deactivate. So that will just indicate the status of the record. Okay. So when you feel that the record is no more useful and you do not want to keep it part of your active list, then you just deactivate it so that it won't show up in your views. Okay. When I say views, view will provide you the list of, it is just a list of your records, right? So it will, with the views, you can actually interact with your list of data, like accounts view, my active accounts. It provides you a list of your active accounts. So when I deactivate that record, it won't be part of this list because it is no more active now. Okay, so it will be part of your inactive accounts. So this is a inactive accounts view. So whatever the account that I deactivated just a while ago, so it is showing up in the inactive view. Okay, because it got deactivated by me, right? So that's how, I mean, it is no more part of the view. Okay, so that's how they will I mean they will keep track of their account, active and inactive accounts. Okay, so after some time, I mean after some months, they will if they think that this uh, uh, data is no more valid or useful, they will go and delete it so that they save some space in their data storage. So let me go back here. Status region. Status region is a sub status. Okay, under active. I mean, if you have more, if you want to maintain more statuses, like under active, you want to keep like active, archive, and I mean, are waiting. Like if you want, if you have some sub statuses for your records, then you maintain it in status region. Okay, so let me just show you so that it makes more sense. Okay, now I have active status. This is active. Under active, I can add, so active, open, uh, to be archived. If you have any such requirement, then you can add all your substatuses here. Okay, you cannot create more than one state. I mean, you cannot modify the status column. You have only two statuses, active or inactive. But if you want to have more statuses under active or inactive, then this is how you can add your substatus and then maintain substatus for your records. Okay, this is just to flag your data. That's all. There's nothing more significance to this. If you want to flag your data when you have more categories, then you use this status reason field. Okay, and this is time zone code. Okay, version number is it makes more sense with respect to, I mean, this is actually related to your data migration and all. Okay, um yeah, any questions so far? Like as I said, all these columns are system columns. I mean, these are generated when you create the table. Okay, so you can modify these columns. I mean, you can probably change the labels and all, but you won't be able to change any schema name or logical names for these columns. Okay, these are all system columns. Okay, now let us go ahead and create our own columns. For doctor table, I said I need to have some data, right? So let me just quickly create few columns. System is getting frozen. Let me just refresh this. While it loads, if you have any questions, you can let me know.
Can we apply indexing and the mappings like foreign key relation?
Yes, yes, we can apply that. but we will discuss about in the in the next classes how to maintain relationship between tables, how do you create foreign keys. We don't use the same terms, but yeah,
Mm.
we do have the same concept. Okay, so when I say the dataverse, it is in the backend, it is created, I mean, it is SQL Server database only. Okay, it is all maintained in Azure SQL database, but you won't be able to access the database and then modify it from the backend. But it is all I mean, it all works as a SQL database only. Okay,
Mm.
like if you are familiar with SQL database, okay, so it is, you can correlate the same here.
Yeah.
Somehow my system got is getting frozen. Just yes, Lakshmi, you were asking me a question. I could hear you properly. So your
Oh,
question is basically, um, you are asking me, you are showing me how to create tables in Power Apps. Are you also going to show in Dynamic 365?
yes,
So Lakshmi, is all the same, right? We are
yes,
creating tables in Dataverse only. Okay, in Dynamic 365, it is the same Dataverse, right? There is no
yes.
difference. Power Apps is a lighter version of Dynamic 365. Okay,
Okay,
it is all the same. There is no difference between Power Apps and Dynamic 365. It is just that Power Apps are lighter version of Dynamic 365. So there is absolutely no difference between creating tables in Power Apps and Dynamic 365. Is exactly same, 100%.
okay,
So if we create an table in the Power Apps, then it will be also shown in the Dynamics 365.
Yeah, so it is, I mean, when I say Dynamic 365, it is all about your license. In Dynamic 365, you have different modules like sales, marketing, customer service, ERP, and all, right? Finance operations.
Yeah.
Whereas in Power Apps, you don't have any of those modules, but you still create apps with using your Dataverse. Okay,
Okay.
all custom apps, but you do not have to pay the license that you pay in case of Dynamic 365.
Okay, this is for the
Then,
custom one. This is not what they provide. This is custom one. These tables are for custom ones, custom apps, what we are making up.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
you
makes
you build maps. Whereas in case of Dynamic 365, there is already an out of the box functionality. Okay, there is already a vanilla version that comes. Okay, and you just customize it as per your needs. But in
vanilla
case of
version.
vanilla version, yeah,
Okay.
vanilla means that is provided by I mean the service provider, whoever is providing giving you the service, he builds some functionality and give you that product, right? So that is
Yeah.
called vanilla.
Okay.
Now you use it as per your need, you customize it and use as per needs, and you also pay the license for those modules. But when I say Power Apps, these are lighter version. It is the same functionality or same features, It is just that you will not have those pre-built processes, okay, or modules. It comes with blank apps, okay, which you need to customize it, use it as per your needs. And the license cost starts from $5, okay, in case of Power Apps. Okay. But in case of Dynamic 365, it starts from $60-$70 because there is already a pre-built functionality built for your organization. Okay. So that is the difference. But as I said, building tables and components, it is all the same. Okay. It is just that functions or the processes do not exist in Power Apps because you are not paying license for that. You are only paying license for the framework, Power Apps framework, not for Dynamic 365. Did I make myself clear?
Yeah, yeah, it's 100% clear.
Thanks. Okay, now I don't think that person is active. I'm unable to share my screen. Let me just organize there. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you have you all created your trial instances? I mean, yesterday I have provided you links to the portals, trial instance portals.
Can you
So
share them again today if possible?
yes, I can.
Thank
As I said, you need to create an account, Microsoft account, using the developer program. Using that account, you can create a trial instance. First step is create an account for yourself, and then using that account, you can create a trial instance for your hands-on.
you. Makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't take more than 10 minutes.
Oh, so what about yourself? You work in any company or you just train people? So how does your background look like in Microsoft Dynamics or overall?
Yeah, so I have been working on Dynamics CRM. I would say I started when I started work. It was Dynamics Microsoft Dynamics CRM. It was not even called Dynamics 365. So I have around 11 years of experience. So I do freelance work and also full time work, everything. Okay. So
Can you also share your email, like best way to contact you? So no one has provided that instructor email. So if you are able to share it in the chat, that would be great. Email or like any contact number.
sure, I can provide my email address so which you can
All right, thanks.
use
That's it.
any queries. Yeah, no problem. You can use this email address. If you have any questions, just send an email. I reply to. I don't think is if
Uh, Praveen, quick question. So when we set up the account for the Microsoft trial, it takes 30 days,
Mhm.
right? After 30 days, what happened? Can I extend it or I have to open a new account with a different information? Let's say create another mock account.
um, when you create an account using developer program, so
Hmm.
it will be active for 6 months and it gets renewed. Okay. The
Okay.
account, you have to use that account to create a trial environment. That trial environment will be active only for 30 days. After 30 days, the data will be deleted and from your environment. Okay.
Okay.
so
Okay.
so you can use that account, okay, for any
Okay.
Microsoft for accessing any Microsoft programs,
Okay.
SharePoint, Office, Azure, anything. So
Okay.
any technology within Microsoft stack, you can use that account. Okay. But
Okay.
once you create a trial instance with that account, it will be active. Any instance, it will be active for only 30 days. After that, you will lose all your data.
Mm, makes sense. Great. Um, and just to be precise about the certification, because I know I asked that question yesterday. So that will be what, PL 100 that we should be look, studying for after this?
Power Platform fundamentals.
PL 900. Okay.
That that should be your first certification. You should be completing PL 900.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Person is inactive in the session. So let's not waste our time. Let's continue from tomorrow unless you have any questions. If you have any trial instance, we can continue. Any one of you have any trial instance, but I don't think that is appropriate. Let's continue tomorrow because
Even we have the trial
we have
instance,
created
we
a
also
table.
can't share the screen. So even we can't share the screen.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got
And
first
can you
step.
share any contact number as well to reach you for any freelance work if related?
Uh, Indresh, I am not supposed to do that. So
Okay.
as per Visualpath agreement, I'm not supposed to share any.
Okay. No, no worries. Sorry about that. I'm not aware of it. Anyways, thanks for clarity.
No problem. No problem.
So
Hey,
I'll reach.
Pervin, last question. Um, so once we have the trial account activated, so we, like for instance, I'm going to speak for me. So I'm going to practice on what we have learned yesterday and what we have learned today. Um,
Mhm.
so when we'll be able to start working on real projects?
Real project. Yeah, very good question. Gigi. So in order to start a real time use case, we need to first um, discuss the core concepts of Dataverse. Okay, there are at least two to three concepts that you should be aware before working on a real time use case. Okay, at least it will take a week to understand those concepts, and then we can jump into building use cases. Okay,
Okay, great.
because if you just start working on a use case without understanding the fundamentals of Dataverse, then it doesn't really make sense. Okay, just give
Mhm.
me week time, then I would complete the fundamentals, and then we can parallelly work on real time use case. I have the case study ready, but
Mhm.
uh, I just need to complete these fundamentals. When I say fundamentals, the table structure, data model, security concepts. Okay, so these are
Okay.
very
Okay, sounds good. Makes sense. Thank you.
no.
Praveen, is there any way to Dynamic CRM can be synchronized? Like, one company from Bangalore, company from Hyderabad, two companies merged together. They have their own Dynamic 365. Okay.
Mhm.
Is there any way or possibility to merge the data, merge them into one, or make it something else? Any ideas?
If they're part of the same tenant, then we can definitely have some processes or some flows set up to
They are not in the same tenant.
if they're not part of the same tenant, then I don't think we can actually
So
you
we
cannot
can
even
just
connect to other tenants, right?
yeah, we can connect like virtual data tables and just read the data, right?
Yeah, for one table wise, yeah, you can do that if it is. But you said they are different. They are CRM databases, right?
Yes, yes. Like both are data was different.
Both databases different. Okay. Yeah, but see how many virtual tables you create like that. Okay, so virtual table is not a physical table. Using virtual table, you can only only read the data.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, you're right.
but if you wanted to merge the data tables, right? You want to create one database out of those two databases you have. That means you have to merge, you have to create one single database out of it. That means you have to connect two different data sources and build one database. So you cannot create all of them as virtual tables for sure.
So when
So
you
I
do it from externally, then dump it into one database.
Yeah, so ideally what you need to do is you have to get the data, I mean, out of those two databases into one, and then uh, migrate everything into the final database.
Thank you, friend. I got the idea.
Yeah, I mean, if the database sizes are, I mean, database is size is not huge, then you can do anything. But if you have more number of tables, then there you will have the complexity.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a sales module, so it has almost 260 GB of data.
Then
Too much columns.
I can definitely, I mean, think about it. Just we can discuss offline, no problem. So if you
No
provide me more,
issues.
I have never come across this kind of a scenario, but I can definitely deep dive it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it's more challenging.
Yeah, yeah, looks like. If they are part of the same tenant, yeah, it is straightforward. We have data
Yeah,
flows, Power Automate. All these tools will help you to migrate the data. Okay, so but if they are part of different tenants, so I am not sure like how to tackle that scenario. That's all. Let's not waste our time. We can continue tomorrow if you do not have any questions. So, any questions before we wind up this session?